Okay, we're back for third part here. Spring break with the kids slowed down the rollout of the series, but let's get back into part 3. We just finished up with Barbara. Gonna need a moment to kind of reorientate myself, but also like taking a look around before moving on.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
Still. I think this is the outside of Barbara's room. Calvin. Oh.
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
Alright, you walked around through these spaces, but given the weirdness of this house, I don't know if things have changed at all based on some of the other things I've done. Plus, I could have easily missed something. There's so many details in the house, you could easily skip stuff in here.
I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement.
The lack of music is interesting, because the game triggers off of things happening, looking at things in certain orders. I wonder if music was a challenge because they'd want it controlled, or if it's just more to add to kind of the like lonely, kind of dead feeling of the home. But it's interesting walking around here and the only sounds being my own movements and her thoughts as things come up. So I'm assuming we need to go check out the music box. I'm trying to remember where that was. I didn't notice the wheelchair before. Grandma Edie.
Maybe I should go check out that music box down by the basement.
Yes. I keep conflating. I think in my mind,
the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house after it sank.
Edie and Edith. I gotta remember to separate those in my head. Okay, let's see if it's in here. is. And traps. So, I didn't start out kind of giving my thoughts on part two. Part two finished with Barbara's story that was told through the comic book. It was a really cool shift. I talked a little bit about my thoughts on that, but it's kind of interesting. So, that key being in the music box as it was told in the comic is really interesting because we're led to believe that obviously Barbara's story was sensationalized for that comic book, but that detail being in that comic book is really interesting. That was a secret that Edith, living in the home, never discovered, but the comic book held that secret. So whatever informed that comic writer, they had some knowledge, or it could have been a thing. And I hope we find out. It'd be interesting to know if that comic book came out and the mother decided to go ahead and place the key there in the aftermath. But interesting either way. And the house was accurate in the comic book as well. It didn't say who produced the comic book. I don't, unless I'm misremembering. But that's interesting as well because they did have the details at home, like including this basement workshop that I'm guessing Edith has not seen before because it was locked up.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
And there's that story, yes, it was off limits. So, who wrote the comic book?
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
Very dark.
I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
I'd say.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could.
Enough
If
beans
there's a
to last
pattern in all these stories,
a lifetime. Some serious prepper stuff going on here. Or long-term off-the-grid living.
I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Walter's into trains. Soldering iron. Ooh. I do pinball repair, arcade repair. I have put countless hours in the soldering iron. I can almost smell that soldering iron cleaning off the soldering tip with that sponge there. Okay, someone was traveling and sending back postcards.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow.
No.
But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
Before I continue, routine's a funny thing. It can either, as he says, keep you sane, or it could drive you crazy. I don't think it takes a whole lot of a push one way or the other to decide that for you.
Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal.
You can see again in his hands, he's got the same similar spots that we've seen in some of the other family members. There's either some kind of illness or skin condition, uncleanliness, I don't know.
Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now. The longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can.
The Finch curse. All this about spirits and curses. Interesting. Take a look around before we go down. So, the bunker has a bunker.
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly. And Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me.
Ah, so the shaking was railroad.
Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it.
The 12 o'clock train.
I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
Okay, that was brutal. That was
I'm
tough.
sure my mom was trying to protect me.
Wait, is that time? No, no clock.
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else.
It's interesting how the lettering, and I've noticed it before this point, reflects off the environment. Like it's like a light source. It's actually showing as part of the
But now I'm
environment.
worried the stories themselves might be the problem.
You can see it on the rails.
Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
Well, obviously that happened after Walter died.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of.
Nope, no going swimming. Okay. Had to check. Okay, so town, it's not too far away. It was a little unclear before.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
Guessing it's the other way, but I'm an exhaust all options type. It's interesting the dialogue on this. Obviously, Edith is writing for a surviving member of the family or an assumed surviving family member, but it works both ways. It works towards us, the player, that her narration, like where it says things like in that previous line, you're probably as confused as I am. Like us, the player, being confused, as well as whoever is going to
the house.
take
That
this to
history
read.
of imagination and stubbornness and madness.
It's really well done.
Any of it seems possible.
With Macromax.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house? It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Not derpy.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Oh, there it is. I was trying to see if the hole lined up with anything, but it just has a figure in there. Oh, there we go. Huh. That's cool. See the other side? No.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Ah, finally we get a good close look at that.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
No.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Now we know who she's talking to. And now the climbings make me nervous.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common.
Little smoking area.
They were both pretty intense.
Yeah. He's the photographer. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick peek around his room.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Alright, looks like we're about to hop into Sam's story. I'm going to go ahead and end this segment right now.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
I get it, Sam. I'm a professional photographer and I hate being on the other side of the lens. Yeah, as I was saying, I'm going to go ahead and end this now before starting the next chapter. So we'll kick off part 4 with Sam's story. Again, beautiful game. That story with the train there at the end, that kind of took me back a little bit. Finally on the path to freedom, and just whatever's going on in this family, that seems to be a lot of the story threads is the moment before they pass away or their tragic moments strike, freedom is given to them in a glimpse, and it's taken tragically. Couple examples of that: the kid on the swing, he finally was allowed to fly, which obviously directly led to his death. And so it's kind of interesting to see that. Now here we haven't jumped into Sam's story, but the just right there, the thought of the military, people talk about that being a way of protecting freedoms and ensuring that others have freedom. So we'll see if that story thread continues. I assume it will, but it's an interesting thing to kind of ponder and think about, of chasing that freedom, and is it worth the cost in the end? Is it better to find a moment of freedom before it ends, even if it's at the cost of your life, rather than to never know it? And it's a really cool thing to consider. So I'm excited to see where the story goes from here. So keep an eye out. Part 4 will not take as long as part 3. I'm in a better situation now to be putting the series out. All right, thank you for watching.